Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Where has the year gone? I cannot believe we are at the end of the year. So to say goodbye to 2025, we are going to do one last garden tour. That is right. We're going to go through the gardens here at the house, and I am going to show you the good, the bad, the ugly, like everything. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, I did not prepare for this video. So you're gonna see my gardens as they are here at the end of the year in North Carolina, a Zone 8A. It has been a fantastic year here in the gardens, and I do feel like I am slightly ahead, or at least caught up with my garden chores. So again, I'm gonna show you everything as it is. You're gonna see weeds, you're going to see perennials that maybe need to be cut back, so forth, but you're also going to see hopefully a lot of winter interest and inspiration. We do these videos to educate you, to inspire you, and yes, to entertain you. So get comfy, get wrapped up in a nice warm blanket if it's cool where you are, or if it's warm, go get a nice cool little beverage and sit back and relax. So let's have some fun doing this last garden tour of 2025. It is a bright sunny day here in North Carolina, and so we're going to take a little garden tour. Hopefully the sun will cooperate with me and the camera. So behind me, of course, this is that area that is in the backyard. It is the patio pathway that goes from the garage all the way around. Of course, the forest pansy bed is behind me, and this space has done really, really well. I think we have a good amount of winter interest, and the weeds and the leaves are so far have been kept up to date, and so I am pleased with how this space is looking as of it is right now. Looking at this space, everything really is doing quite lovely. With the winter interest, of course, we have got, these are the pufferfish hydrangeas. We planted these late winter, early spring this past year, so they had a really good year. You can see from all of the old spent blooms on it how many blooms we had. With my hydrangeas, I have not cut anything. My panicles, my smooth hydrangeas, you're gonna see my incredibles here in a minute. I personally love leaving the interest on here. Those old blooms, yes, they are brown, yes, they are crusty, but you know what? It gives me structure in the wintertime along with those perennial grasses. And just everything is looking really nice. You're going to have some of those perennials, of course, here in the end of December are these evergreens. So here we have the webmaster. This is that spiderwort. I personally love it. It has been very well behaved and controlled, but gives me that nice green pop here in, you know, the end of the season, the end of the year. It has a little bit more of like a green blue color to it. You can see my lemon coral sedum. This technically could be a perennial for me here in North Carolina. We got down the low to 13, and then we've had multiple nights in the 20s. So you can see that there's been a lot of the foliage that has been fried and is absolute smush. So what I will do is come through here later on and just kind of clean it up. It's been burnt. I will pull it up and we'll see what happens as far as it coming back next year. So everything here is doing quite lovely. Just hanging out and just living its best life. And then of course the forest pansy bed, you were with Mimi and I, what was that, 2 weeks ago, I guess, and cleaning up this bed and it just looks so nice. It has done a really good job. As far as thinking about winter interest, my eucharas, this is Southern Comfort Euchara. This is one of those perennials that we added to the Creekside Champion line for this very reason. This is the worst time of the year that the eucharas are going to look, but Southern Comfort has massive leaves on it, that nice copper color. It changes like a lot of eucharas do as far as the coloring throughout the year, and my eucharas do really well in pots and containers. Southern Comfort has been here for several years and doing quite lovely. And then look at Feather Falls. Feather Falls Carex is loving life right here. I mean, it just gets bigger. This is why I love Carexes, because they're evergreen. You don't prune them. I mean, just gorgeous color, texture. it's moving, right? So we've got a little bit of wind. You can see it moving in the wind. It's doing great. Love, love, love it. Yeah, so all the perennials are dormant, the vast majority of them, right? My hostas, all those kinds of things. I do have a hellebore that is blooming. So this is that nice, deep, dark purple. This hellebore is more of a downturn, kind of that traditional, but it is also a double bloom. Look at that. I don't remember the name, y'all. It's been here for years. I don't remember the name, but it is just, it's doing great. It's an overachiever. And then I've got, you will notice throughout our property, I have lots of bird feeders. I do adore my songbirds, and especially in the winter, I do everything I can to help support them. And they give me lots of joy just watching them and then hearing them tweet in the trees. And probably I can hear a couple of them fussing at me because I am in their way as far as feeding them. And then the generous gardener rose. So we have 2 of these, of course, on each side of this arch. I'm not really going to do anything right now with it. It's just, I had done a little bit of pruning at the end of the summer. She is a very generous rose, shall we say, as far as her growth. I will prune my roses, not only the generous gardener, but also like I have the Roald Dahls here, and then I have more throughout the property. So you prune your roses before you see new growth popping out. I've done numerous videos on this, and so we will prune this probably, depends on the weather, but it could be mid to late January into early February, because my roses really do start pushing out new growth before then. And yeah, so all is well here. Now let's talk about tulips, because we planted some tulips in this backyard. So it was probably about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. Our staff, we had kind of the tulip planting party. So here in the backyard, we planted 1,000 of the pink Ardor tulips from Color Blends. Y'all, this is like an electric pink. And yes, we planted 1,000 just in the backyard. I've told you this many times. Our middle child, Megan, is a huge fan of pink tulips. And years ago, she was like, Mama, can you please plant some pink tulips? And when your teenager asks you to plant a certain plant, you plant the plant. And so every year, that's what she wants, is pink tulips, because that is probably hands down her favorite flower. And I am happy to oblige and do that. So every year we kind of do a different shade of pink from Color Blends. This year we went bold, and so it's going to be that beautiful electric pink. Let me show you where we put them, because fingers crossed, I have no doubt, it is going to be an absolutely gorgeous spring back here in the backyard. All right, so 1,000 bulbs, you know, they kind of go far. So what we did is we have a bunch of single tulips, as far as like I planted them individually in this bed. We already have some of the spring flowering bulbs popping up. Like these are little miniature jonquils. They always pop up. They don't flower until it's appropriate. A little bit of some anemones in here, but we've got the pink tulips in here. We had about 50 left over, and so we had a little hole, so we filled in the hole, so we're gonna have a pop right here. Then coming on through the backyard, we have them underneath the lanterns, so this whole bed is planted with them. Of course, we have them all around the boxwoods, the camellias. So both sides of the patio, they will have nice big clumps of probably about, there's 8 in a hole, because we use the 9-inch auger. And so they are through all these raised beds. Then we planted, I believe it was 300 up here in the deck boxes. So we have got 300 that will be shining their little faces right up here. So we've got those. And then the rest of them are in the backyard. So we have them all the way beginning here below the landscape lighting. So a huge mass planting here. And then Jackson and Jerry were the ones drilling holes, and then they drilled holes pretty much touching each other, right? So all in front here of the double play doozies, you can kind of see a difference in the color of the mulch just because it's been disturbed, but they come all the way up around to the doozies and then in the backyard beds. So all around here, kind of in the front, those areas that are open, we have them there. And then last, we have them in this corner right over here. So it is going to be an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous spring. I have no doubt whatsoever. And then everything else, yeah, is doing great. Talking about, though, the interest with the Incrediballs. So with the Incrediballs, they are doing amazingly well. That you can see they had a very prolific, floriferous summer and just loving life. And then the double play doozy spireas. Y'all, these things are an absolute beautiful shrub. Now, right now, they're completely deciduous, right? And so there is no, quote, color to them per se, is what we think about like with our summer garden, but they still bring me color and structure because they have, of course, brown is a color, as I always say. So yes, there is color in the garden, just different shades of brown right here. And they also provide protection for my songbirds because the birds will come in here. Of course, from the back, the back of the house, we have the windows on the back of the house, and so Jerry and I will be sitting inside on cold mornings and drinking our coffee. And the birds absolutely come to these plants and hang out in them all the time because we have that feeder in the forest pansy, and then I have another feeder right here in the cherry tree. So they are flitting all around. There's a feeder in the maple tree behind me. So they are flitting constantly and going in and seeking shelter in these hydrangeas and the spireas. So what I will be doing, my hydrangeas, the panicles and the smooths, I will prune them in around that same time as my roses. So, and even maybe a little bit later. So where the roses may be pruned in January, these could easily wait until like February into March. A good rule of thumb is think Valentine's Day. You get flowers for Valentine's Day, that's kind of when we start pruning our shrubs. So the hydrangeas will get pruned and the spireas. If you're not pruning your spireas, I would encourage you to do that. And y'all, what I'm gonna do this year is gonna be a little bit different. So in years past, when the plants were a little bit smaller, what I would do, of course, is take like my Thelcos and I would go through and cut each individual limb. No, these things have gotten so big and beautiful. So I'm going to use my hedge trimmers this year, probably even with my hydrangeas, because yes, you can be specific when you're pruning your hydrangeas, especially when they're young, because you want to make sure that they have a good shape to them. When they get this size and this mature, they really do not care. So I will take the hedge trimmers and I will cut them. I will prune them and they will flush back out and give me gorgeous flowers next season, because I'm already thinking about 2026, y'all. Isn't that crazy? Thinking about the gardens, I'm kind of cheating on this year's garden. We're saying goodbye. I'm not even cheating. It's that time of year where I can say goodbye and we're moving on. Now, speaking of some great evergreen interest, these tea olives, the sweet osmanthus, y'all, I have been so impressed with them and how well they have done. They have created this beautiful hedge that kind of separates the back of the yard, separates my garden shed from the pretty formal gardens of the backyard. So I am loving these tea olives. Also, let me show you these camellias. I know we've had blooms, but they're, bless their hearts, when it got down to 20 and 13, they didn't really like it. Let me show you this early wonder camellia. Oh, doing fantastic. All right, so these early wonder camellias, I've got 2 of them right here. And you can, let me move the hose link out of the way here. So I have got buds. They have been blooming for quite a while. But like I said, with the 13, 20 degrees, they didn't really like that. But I've got new buds coming out. It is going to be quite warm the next, I think 2 weeks. In the summertime, we had a rabbit that would hang out right here. So every time I come over here, Brenna thinks that the rabbit's over here. But loving these camellias. They are a little bit slower growers. I promise they are growing, but they're doing well. And then you can see like my clematis. So I have 3 clematises right here, and all of them bloom on new growth. So at this point, if I want to, I could go ahead and come down all the way down to the ground and cut these all the way down to the ground, because all of this will be new growth come next year, and they bloom on new growth. There's 3 different types of clematis, and they will bloom on different. So one will bloom on old growth, one blooms on new growth, and one blooms on both old and new. So it's important to know which type of clematis you have as far as the pruning, and when do you prune it, or do you not even prune it at all. To come over here in the back, we're here a little while ago and y'all helped me clean up. And so, yeah, everything's just kind of hanging out, doing well. My butterfly bushes, these will get pruned. They too, they're hanging on because this is a very hot spot in the garden. Still have quite a bit of green on them. I find that these never go completely deciduous back here. And so they will get a really hard prune. But I will wait until I see new growth popping out on them, and then I will prune them back. And yeah, so then we have the daffodils that are coming up, and y'all, you know what? It is what it is. So if you've got spring flowering bulbs like your daffodils, your crocus, your anemones, those kinds of things, and you see growth coming up, don't worry about it. They're tough. They'll figure it out. They'll bloom at the right time. And if not, you're gonna go again. They are tough plants. But thinking about some winter interest, I do have certain plants that really only shine during the winter. And then during the summer, they're really kind of nondescript and don't really give us much interest. So what am I talking about? Well, first of all, not that this really qualifies for this, but look at, this is a Hinoki slender. Y'all, I love this tree. It is so like Dr. Seuss, funky, has all sorts of like character and personality to it. I've never pruned it. I don't stake it, like nothing to it at all. And then I love how it has, the new growth has that kind of that little bit of that weeping habit to it. So that the little floppiness to it, it will get some, of course, harden and get some structure, but just like, look how fun that is. And if you notice that some of your evergreens, especially this time of year, if they have the brown on the underneath side like this, don't worry, y'all. This is completely natural. It's this time of year they will do that, so it is okay. The first year that it did this, I kind of freaked out a little bit, but it does it every year. It's kind of like a little molting, shall we say, of some old growth that it wants to get rid of, but it is quite happy. It is doing well. So if you have some evergreens that are doing that, it's okay, I promise. Now, one of those shrubs that clearly shines in the wintertime is my Harry Lauder walking stick. Y'all, this thing is so much fun. It is a contorted shrub. It clearly loves this spot because it has just grown really well. But you can see that it truly is contorted. Like it is curly, it twists, it turns, it has all sorts of fun, funky shape to it. In the growing season, it has the green leaves, so you really can't see the structure on it. But this time of year, you absolutely can, and it's really a fun, unique tree. The next one that is everything here, doing well, is we have an Edgeworthia. So down here on the very corner of the front yard, the daylily bed, I have an Edgeworthia. Planted this probably maybe 3 years ago. This bed, of course, is not on irrigation, but it is at the bottom of the hill, so it gets good water. And the first year, yeah, it struggled because I tend to be a tough love gardener, but it has clearly like taken off and is loving life. So Edgeworthia forsythia is like a paper bush, a Chinese paper bush, you'll hear it called also as well. What we love about this is that you can still see those little silvery kind of balls on it, if you would. Those are the blooms. These are the flower buds. So what's going to happen in the spring, probably I think it's around that March time, all of this will open up and they're going to be like little trumpets, and they're going to be kind of an orange color, and the smell is unbelievable. I mean, they smell divine. So during the growing season, it has really kind of like elongated green, almost like silky kind of texture leaves on it. Again, it's kind of a nondescript shrub in the summertime, but in the wintertime, oh my gosh, she shines. Even like with her little flower buds, being that silver color is so much fun. But when it blooms, y'all, it is, like I said, the fragrance is unbelievable. Give you an update down here on, we planted some sweet osmanthus and some camellias down here in the fall. Everybody's doing well. They're just hanging out, which is what I want. You know, obviously this time of year, you're not seeing a ton of new growth, but the plants are clearly happy. This sweet osmanthus is Apricot Echo, and will be covered in flowers, just hanging out, doing really well. And then down here, we have the camellias as well that we planted. We planted, I think, 2 down on this end, and they too, yep, doing just fine. So what I like to see is a nice happy green plant. Again, nothing spectacular right now because I don't expect it to be. I'm just waiting on them to get some maturity to them. And then this, y'all, is actually a camellia. So Mama and I went to Camellia Forest several years ago, and this was one of the camellias that we picked up. Now you may look at this, if you know camellias, it is not your typical what you think of as a camellia. I want to say this is snowbells. I will have to figure that out. I am horrible with names with plants that I don't talk about a ton. But this has more of that kind of a bit of a weeping habit to it. And then it will have tiny little pure white flowers on it. It would be like a japonica as far as like when it blooms. So it's going to be blooming later in the season, not early. So a really kind of a fun, different kind of camellia. This is a great one to check out. Camellia Forest, you can go and visit or you can order online. Let's head back to the house. Now, this is going to be one of those areas where it's just like, ugh, it just drives me nuts. So this is when I'm envious of my friends who have their gardens covered in snow during the winter, because y'all, if your garden is covered in snow, that means you don't have to deal with all the daggum winter weeds. In the South, the winter weeds, I tell you, I think they're worse in the winter than they are in the summer. And clearly, like all this green you see, there should not be any green right there. No, y'all, those are all weeds. So I've got henbit, I've got chickweed, I have got I've got everything growing in here, and it should not be in here. I've got some onions, oh my word, we could start an onion farm. And all of this, so yay, grass. You see the line right here? So everything to the left of the line, those are weeds. They are, and they obviously need some attention. The daylilies clearly have are past their prime, and they have that silver look. So what we can do is just come through, get them cleaned up. They literally will just pull off. But yeah, I mean, everything is doing great here. It's just kind of hanging out other than the weeds. We got to take care of that. We'll hit the umbrella pine bed in a minute. And then of course the front yard with the landscape renovation that we did in the late summer. Everything is just doing really well. Now, the green that you see here is not weeds. Those are, well, there are a couple weeds in there, but most of those are my anemones. Those great perennial spring flowering bulbs. So I've got some in here. I've got more corms I'm gonna come in and add, but the tidbits are doing great. The azaleas are doing great. The sweet little violas that we planted are all doing well. So with this garden, we're just letting it be. So everything again is doing well. The Mucho Gusto abelias, my gosh, the color on them this winter is just fantastic. They have gotten really kind of more of that chartreuse color to them, really standing out quite nicely against those New Gen boxwoods. But yep, everything here is doing well. And as a side note, y'all, when we did the front porch, like getting it ready for fall, winter, and I put in the Sting arborvitaes and then the Everillo Carexes, and then that was it. And so many of y'all were so funny about these containers. There were many of you that were so funny, and you're like, oh, Jenny, it looks so good. but they look like little gnomes because of the stings and the everillows. It was so funny. And after I read those comments and I stood back and I looked, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're so right. They do look like little gnomes. So what I did is I kind of beefed them up. So I went and then got my, cut some of the panicle hydrangeas. Of course, they were dried, stuck them down in the soil, and then I have some of the, I mean, they're fake, right? I mean, they're from Hobby Lobby, but they're, you know, with the little berries and the green and the little snow. We ain't got no snow here in North Carolina. So kind of filled it in a little bit so it doesn't look, hopefully, so gnomish, maybe a little bit more Christmassy, a little bit more festive. But y'all were cracking me up. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do once Christmas is, have to take down the Christmas decorations. I guess I'll have to go get some more hydrangeas and beef them up, and then maybe cut some evergreens and stick in there. But it's not, those plants aren't staying in there indefinitely, right? That was just for my winter interest. But y'all were cute about that in the in the garden gnomes. All right, let's take a look at the side yard and then up at the garden boxes. I've been so happy with this garden. I mean, it is just absolutely transformed. I think it has a good bit of winter interest. Typically this garden, before we did the renovation in the wintertime, it just, like, I had the camellia, the white by the gate on the trellis, and I had my holly fern that's underneath the window, and that was it, because everything else was full of perennials, but they were all where they would just die back, you know, and you didn't see anything. So now that we've renovated this, I mean, you have got tons of different things in here. Of course, here on the corner, we have got our Electra Blue. She is doing really well. And yes, y'all, it is not planted too close to the house. We've got plenty of room for this nice compact cedar, so you're doing well. And then the candy butterfly bushes have held up really well, considering the temperatures we've had. The Ascot Rainbow Euphorbia, this is another one that we immediately added to the Creekside Champion line. It is just a phenomenal, it's one of my absolute favorite perennials. Can do sun, it is evergreen, it is just lovely and brings me color and texture and height to the garden. Of course, the Carexes, we have got the Everillos in here, and then my little container with all the fun winter interest. This is going to be an annual container, so in the spring I will take all of these plants out and I will add them to the garden, and then I will plant some of my summer annuals in here. But doing well, I mean, doing really, really well. We've got the Lunar Falls, which is a new Carex. That is that white grass that is throughout here. Has handled it like a champion. I suspect that as soon as we get warmer temperatures in the spring, it is going to take off, and I cannot wait to see it get nice and full in here. We've got, of course, the Pulmonaria is in here. The Hellebores, this is the pink frost that Mimi and I took one massive one and divided it up and got tons of babies. So they're doing great. They should start blooming here in the next couple of weeks or so. And then all the other different interests in here, my little dwarf Colorado blue spruce, and then of course Paisley pup. Paisley pup has handled all of these temperatures and the change just like an absolute rock star. And the coloring on this native evergreen shrub, I mean, what else do you want from an evergreen shade shrub, right? I mean, gorgeous. Love it so much. And then I think I showed y'all this, that I put ribbon falls in the urns at the garage. So ribbon falls is another Carex. It is a solid green. So it may, those of you that are familiar with like monkey grass, it may look like a monkey grass, but it's not, right? So it's not going to spread and be pesky like a monkey grass. You don't prune it. It is going to be more for the kind of those shadier areas, and in the wintertime, this space definitely gets the shade. It can handle the cold. I just have one plant in this urn, but we've got like new growth popping up down there in the center, and it just brings me a fun, nice green. Nothing spectacular in the summertime. In the summertime, I love the color, and in the fall and the winter, I try to keep it simple, and Ribbon Falls is doing a great job keeping that simple for me. All right, and then So moving on to the cottage garden. We were here just a couple weeks ago, got this bed prepped. Y'all really I love this, right? So it's doing great. I've got, again, tons of interest because with the driveway being right here, the kitchen is on this side of the house. So I see this all the time, especially in the winter because I'm in the kitchen more, I'm in the house more. So I see this, and to have this interest and this structure here throughout the winter makes me so happy. And I'm already dreaming about spring and summer and the butterflies and the monarchs. And so we have added a couple of plants to help with the monarchs. Let me show you. As most of you know, Mimi turned me on to creating a monarch garden or a garden that would support not only the monarchs but other butterflies as well. So we had some host plants for the monarchs kind of up where Brenna is, and so we had those. And then at the end of the season, I had plants for my swallowtails and golden Alexander. So Mimi gave me this plant. It is the host plant for your swallowtails. This is the one that Mimi gave me originally, and y'all, it was covered in caterpillars, covered. So much so they completely just devoured it. I had to get parsley and put up here. So she actually found me 2 more golden Alexanders. Now they're little, we just got them planted, but they will take off, and these will be perennials, and they will definitely be wonderful host plants for those swallowtails. So I encourage you, as the warmer temperatures slowly approach, or even as you're thinking about next year's gardens, add in some of those plants that will be host plants for the butterflies, because each butterfly has a specific family of plants that they need in order for their babies to eat those and then turn into their beautiful butterflies. But yeah, everything is doing great here. Again, we just put this garden to bed, so it's doing lovely. I love the Fire Chief. So this is Fire Chief arborvitae. In the wintertime, it turns this gorgeous copper color. Y'all, it is not dead, I promise. It is nice and soft. Like this is right? So nothing's coming off, so it's not dead. This is what it does. But down in there is still a nice bright green. So it's a bit of a chameleon shrub because when the days get shorter and the temperatures get colder, it bronzes over completely. And then the days get longer, the temperatures warm up, then it turns green again. But even on the little tips, it will keep kind of a little bit of that copper color. And so Fire Chief arborvitae, I don't prune mine. Basically, it'll be like around a 3 feet tall by 3 feet. Yeah, so there you go on that, and everything else is just doing really well in here. Garden boxes, to give you an update on the garden boxes and my winter veggies. The violas, yeah, they took a hit in those 13-degree temperatures. They will bounce back. They're just looking a little rough right now. Just leave them alone. If you want to fertilize them, you can. But yeah, just kind of hanging out on those. Now this side, as you can see, because it's almost lunchtime and it's still in the shade and the sun is just now coming on it, they did not like those cold temperatures. So I'm pretty sure that I lost my beets. I am going to leave them just in case they're still alive, and it's just the foliage that is dead. It's not, I mean, I'm not gonna be sowing anything right now anyway, but I had the red beets and the gold beets, so we'll see what they do. The romaine, again, was a little bit, took a hit, but this is great for like the baby leaf salad. You just come in here and cut individuals. Has a beautiful taste to it. And then my kale. So we've had numerous salads with kale in it, but you can see a little bit that discoloration is because of those cold temperatures. The new growth is got that nice kind of that dark purple. It tastes delicious, and so we've had lovely salads with our kale. Y'all, I even have some anemones blooming up here. So these anemones were planted last year, and look at that. So it's okay. If you've got flowers that are blooming, just enjoy it. Don't worry about them. They'll be okay, right? So we got to come in here and do a little bit of cleanup still. I've got some guar that needs to be cut back, but that's really about the only thing that needs to be trimmed at this point. And then the beets, the radishes rather, still pulling on some of those. And then my carrots are doing quite well. And the garlic. The garlic has sprouted just leave it alone. Let it do its thing. It can handle these cold temperatures. In fact, it needs cold temperatures. Maybe not 13, but it needs those cooler temperatures. So it's just doing all that great growing underneath. And so we're just gonna leave it alone and let it do its thing. And then coming on up to the chicken coop, we'll hit this right quick. And I think that'll be it, wrap it up. But the woodland garden is doing really nice. All of the shrubs that I've added, even like this camellia right here, this was that Jeff Hamilton, doing really well. It has a little bit of burn on it, but it's okay. It's all right. It'll bounce back and do just fine. But yeah, you see how those Florida sunshines are just glowing here in, I know it doesn't look like it, but I promise this is a shade garden. This is why we have all these deciduous trees. It gets great winter sun, but in the summer it is in the shade, and everybody is doing really well up here. Have not done any kind of leaf cleanup as far as in this garden, and so you still see I have some alliums right here that have their old blooms on them, so I could come in here and need to come in here and do a little bit of cleanup, but there's no rush. Everything's just fine and kind of hanging out. And then the girls, I think they're hanging out in here. I got their shavings cleaned out. Oh, look at them. Well, hello, girls. What you doing? Not quite sure why they're hanging out in here, but they are. They're silly little birds. So there you go on that. And yeah, so there is some cleanup to do here in the garden, but again, there is no pressure to get any of that done. And so we're just kind of hanging out with everything. Let's see. What do I need to do in here? Well, first of all, I still have some lantana that's in the ground that could come out for sure. And so clean that up a little bit. Just come in here and do a little bit of tidying, putting down some compost, because this bed definitely needs as much amendments as we possibly can give it. And then this is what happens when the garden center closes and we still have pansies and violas left over. We bring it up here and we're gonna give them to the chickens. So they get a flat a day so they can get to peck on. But yeah, so of course, pansies and violas are great. I mean, even they're edible for us. And then, of course, I have a plant stash. I think every gardener pretty much has a plant stash somewhere. I may or may not have multiples throughout different areas, but that's all right. And then this garden, I have not done anything to this bed at all. I still have like a hibiscus up. You know, I left my rudbeckia is still up, and so feeding the birds if they want any of that. But just kind of give you an idea, this is an area that has needs to be given some love, shall we say. Part of the front yard renovation also included this front corner bed. I call it the umbrella pine bed because we have the umbrella pine here in the center. Everything is doing really, really well. Yeah, I mean, it's doing great, right? And so we're just kind of hanging out, letting it do its thing, let all those roots grow and get nice and happy. And then come springtime, we're gonna have a gorgeous color, and then the summer is gonna be fabulous in here. The last garden that we're going to look at is the privacy berm, and we are entering into year 4 of this bed. So 4 years ago we were kind of in the middle of the construction of this garden, and yeah, it's just doing phenomenal. There are some things that we're definitely going to have to move and tweak this coming season. For example, this is a thunderhead Japanese black pine, which is loving life, right? It's just really happy and vigorous, but you can see that it is overtaking one of my Sunjoy Neo barberries. So I need to move that barberry. It's like literally starting to crush the barberry. And then we've got the daylilies that it is coming over as well. But this is a cool plant, right? I love this tree. And so the tree he gets to go wherever he wants, and then the perennials will get moved accordingly. But it is candling, so that's what we call it when the pines start to put on this new growth, because they look like candles. And so that actually is new growth. The birds love this tree. They will come in and nest in it all winter. So we always have a beautiful little family in the thunderhead. And so yeah, that's doing really, really nicely right here. And then probably some of these daylilies that are behind the Weigelas. This is the Vino Verde. I do not want to prune this until after it flowers, but the daylilies behind them, because everything's growing and getting nice and big, probably want to go ahead and give the Vino Verdes some room and the daylilies some room. So I could easily take those out and bring them more kind of and filling in the pockets right here. If I want, that would be a great option to do as well. And then look at this Sweet Talker Viburnum. Y'all, this Sweet Talker is huge, is doing really well. And in fact, I think I see some little flowers on it. So the Sweet Talker, it will bloom super early in the season. So we have got a couple of little flowers right here. We have actually got some buds right here. The foliage is interesting. It's listed as an evergreen, but because I have this one on a north-facing side of the garden, it tends to get fried and it will drop most of its leaves, but it always flushes right back out. And then of course it's got lots of little flowers on it and buds. And so the Sweet Talker Viburnum, nice and big, doing well. And you can prune that if you need to. The Little Lime Punches, the Pugster Pinkers are doing well. And then we have another one of those Sweet Talker Viburnums because I wanted the bed to be symmetrical underneath the Thunder Cloud. This is a plum tree, and so that have that little space balance right there with everything. And then of course the Niagara Falls grasses, they are doing great, giving me really nice winter interest. And then I have my Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush. In the past I have pruned it. For the last 2 years I have pruned it. I am not going to prune it this year. That way it can go ahead and give me those smoky flowers that it gets its name from. But you can see, so the first year I pruned it right here. So you can see I pruned it here and we got 3 good shoots off of it that year. Got some, it looks like last year. So I pruned it here and got 3 branches. Those came up. So then the next year, this past year, I pruned it here, those, and then we got what? 4, depends on the branch that goes up. So if I were to prune it again this year and prune it, then we would get it branching out more. But I want to go ahead and see it have those really pretty flowers that it is known for. And of course the Minecraft Gold is a beautiful chartreuse color. So super excited about that. And then the North Pole Arborvitaes, y'all, these things have just done amazingly well. Yes, I know they're big, but I don't realize how much they've grown until I look at when we planted them and they were just there at the fence line. So they were just poking above the fence line and now they are, I mean, clearly they're well above the fence line and doing really well. And they can handle these temperatures and the heat and humidity really well. They do go into the shade first because they are down here closest to the creek, but absolutely love these North Pole Arborvitaes in this spot. So wrapping up this last garden tour of 2025, one little spot while we're still sitting here. This was a bed that I planted in the spring, and literally I went over to the garden center and shot the garden center with plants that were hanging out there. Some of the hydrangeas like the Wee Bit Giddy had been there for a couple of years and had not sold. The feather falls, oh my gosh, y'all, if you're not growing feather falls in your garden, you need to. Absolutely gorgeous. Of course, we have the Carex with the Arvarillos in there as well. But this space is doing really, really well, like just phenomenal. And I'm loving the winter interest that we have in here. So that garden has performed really well. Cannot wait to see how it grows this coming year because I know in year 2, we're going to get even some better growth. And then year 3, because remember, first year they sleep, then they creep, and then they leap. So this garden is going to creep and leap, hopefully, this year. But again, we hope you have found this kind of, fun and informative, entertaining, who knows what. And so just to kind of get an idea of, what our gardens look like here in North Carolina, because hopefully it has maybe answered some questions that you had about your garden or made you feel better about your garden or like, oh my gosh, she has weeds. Yes. Every garden has weeds, and if they tell you they don't have weeds, well, then they're just not telling you the truth because every garden has weeds. Some of us are just better at maintaining it than others. And there are seasons, right? So there are seasons within the year and there are seasons within the life of the gardener. And so I tell people, like, there is grace in gardening. Yes, if you see a weed, pull a weed. But above that, there is grace in gardening. Your garden will be here if the season of life calls you away. It will welcome you back with open arms. And I tell people, like, when we're working as a staff and we're doing something, or I have somebody helping me, whether we're pruning or we're mulching or we're fertilizing or whatever, I'm like, can't you hear the plants? They're like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So they'll be appreciative when you come back, but they understand it's fine. And yes, I know they're plants. It's all right, y'all. You got to have a little bit of a humor and look at this. Have fun with your garden, right? All right, y'all. Y'all have a fantastic day. As always, thank you so much for gardening with Creekside. If you have not subscribed, we would love it if you would. We have 5 videos headed your way each and every single week of the year. We're here to help you. And if you're covered in snow, enjoy the blue sky and the green grass here in North Carolina. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.